Tonight on 5 Rounds, there was no shortage of mixed martial arts events this weekend as the UFC, Bellator, and World Series of Fighting all went head-to-head. In Mexico, the UFC crowned a new interim heavyweight champion as FABRICIO Werdum surprised the Super Samoan Mark Hunt with a flying knee TKO. In the co-main event, Kelvin Gastelum continued his rise up the welterweight division, submitting the juggernaut Jake Ellenberger to keep his perfect record alive. Meanwhile, in San Diego, Tito Ortiz and Stephan headlined Bellator 131. The storyline was there, but did the fight live up to expectations? We'll discuss. Plus, Michael Chandler and Melvin Manhoef found themselves on the wrong end of a couple of shocking finishes. And finally, we look ahead to Edgar versus Swanson. Robin Black reveals an intriguing tactic and the evolution of Frankie Edgar in this week's breakdown. We've got all that and more in this ear-exploding edition of 5 Rounds, and it starts right now. Everyone, welcome to 5 Rounds. I'm your host, John Ramdeen, alongside my good friend, Mr. Robin Black. And there was a ton of mixed martial arts going down this weekend. We are going to get to all of the action, starting with Mexico City, site of UFC 180. In the main event, the UFC heavyweight interim title on the line as FABRICIO Werdum, submission specialist, battled former K1 champion Mark Hunt. And it went down exactly the way I predicted it, that it would be FABRICIO Werdum, the former jiu-jitsu world champion, winning by knockout. There's no way anybody on planet Earth predicted that finish. FABRICIO Werdum looking very, very good. We've seen the improvements of his stand-up game, but did you expect that he would try to be bold and use his striking ability?
Yeah, you knew he had to, because it isn't simple enough to take Mark Hunt down. It's gotten harder and harder and more challenging. But what was super fascinating about it is how that knee landed. If you go back and you watch, check it out on Fight Pass, whatever, he goes in for this low single, hooks up the foot and pulls the low single. Hunt defends it on the very next one, head fake to the low single. When Hunt reacts, the flying knee comes after it. So he laid a trap for him, using the takedown threat to lay the trap of the knockout. Oh, it was beautiful. The only thing less likely was Hunt by submission.
Yeah, it's really just an amazing main event, but you also have to credit FABRICIO Werdum showing his killer instinct. Yeah. Once that knee landed, Mark Hunt went down to the ground and he finished it up with some ground and pound, looking very good. And I was surprised considering the fact that Werdum got floored in the first round by Mark Hunt, but he seemed so confident. It's like, you know what? This is what happens. You get hit, you fall down, you get back up, and you get ready to throw down.
Yeah, he looked spectacular. You cannot take anything away from him, even with what I'm about to say, but Mark Hunt did look tired. He had to fight at elevation on a couple weeks, cutting 30 pounds to make the weight. That was a very big challenge for Mark Hunt. He looked phenomenal. We did a breakdown last week, and he was patrolling the grounds. He was get off my lawn and with the left hook. He was showing the shotgun. He did everything that we figured he had to do, but you really saw him slow down near the end of round 1. That was a tougher challenge because of that, but again, that takes nothing away from Werdum, who looked like a world beater.
You and I were talking off air, and it's unfortunate for Mark Hunt because, you know, he takes this fight on short notice. It was supposed to be Werdum taking on Cain Velasquez. Mark Hunt comes in. We talk about the elevation of Mexico City. So Mark Hunt didn't have a great training camp, had to cut a whole bunch of weight. Conversely, for FABRICIO Werdum, he was preparing to face the most dominant heavyweight in years in the UFC's heavyweight division. Some will argue he's possibly the best mixed martial artist of all time because of his pace, his tempo. You see how good his skills are, and one of his biggest attributes is his cardiovascular condition.
For sure, not all challenges are equal, and in this one you had Hunt starving himself and killing himself and trying to make weight, and you had the other guy eating delicious tacos waiting for him to get there.
And also, you have to credit Mark Hunt on the ground. Werdum is recognized as not only one of the best jiu-jitsu guys, submission wrestlers in mixed martial arts, he's one of the best jiu-jitsu guys on the planet. Yeah. And for Mark Hunt to not get swept, not get submitted, and forced FABRICIO Werdum to try to readjust. You saw him trying to push off the cage to try to get some space, but Mark Hunt waited for his opportunity. Once the guard was open, he got himself back up. So very good work from Mark Hunt.
Beautiful round and a half, and the knockout was amazing. And that wasn't even the best knockout of the weekend. Like, what about Schilling, man? That unbelievable combination to catch somebody that good. And there's a difference between levels of striking. And when you saw that fight, Joe Schilling moved so nicely. He was setting up traps, and oh my God, what a great striking battle that was.
All the action went down in San Diego. Bellator, one of their biggest cards to date, and this is one of the fights I was most looking forward to over the weekend. Melvin Manhoef, just known for his ferocity and his knockout power. Conversely, Joe Schilling, only 1 victory, 3 losses in mixed martial arts. But people are like, well, what would happen with the 4-ounce gloves? These guys are used to fighting with big gloves. But Joe Schilling showing his resolve, proving that he can take a punch. And Melvin Manhoef, one of the reasons why fans love him is because he's so ferocious, but at times he gets reckless. And we saw what happened. Yeah,
you get reckless against a pinpoint technician like Schilling, man, and you go to sleep. Beautiful knockout, beautiful fight by 2 fantastic warriors. It was a gift to watch that one.
And you know, it's a great signing for the Bellator organization, because we know that Joe Schilling, he isn't just a kickboxer. However, we've seen his abilities in the Glory tournament. Now really trying to make his mark in mixed martial arts and training with Nick Diaz. I think it's just going to serve him very well.
Yeah, amazing. And back and forth between flipping channels and watching different shows. But, you know, how about LAMAS, man? LAMAS, really, at 145, we got, you know, the best 145-pound non-title fight ever coming up next weekend. And this guy just injected himself in there. You got Conor McGregor. But to lock up that beauty of a guillotine, just a crisp jab. And people misunderstand jabs, but just a crisp, penetrating jab. Drop that, man. Great performance.
Now, when you look at Dennis Bermudez going into this fight, he was very confident, almost overly confident, that he was overlooking Ricardo Lamas. Like, you know, I'm going to be challenging for the title. I don't know who this guy is, but when you look at his, you know, he's gone on a great winning streak before this loss to Ricardo Lamas, but it was wins over Clay Guida, who had a lot of miles, and a couple of guys like Stephan who are not fighting in the UFC right now.
Confidence is a crazy, crazy thing, man. You got to find just the right level of confidence and just the right level of arousal in a fight. And Ellenberger, on the other hand, Ellenberger lost a fight where he looked like he didn't have enough swagger. He looked like he didn't want it bad enough. And Gastelum's the real deal.
And I feel a little different to you in this situation with Jake Ellenberger, because I thought we saw a very good Jake Ellenberger, a guy that realized, you know what, this is a division full of animals. I'm only going to be competing against the cream of the crop at 170 pounds, really one of the most talented divisions in all of mixed martial arts. It looks like he was calm in there, had his movement going. He landed a couple of big bombs on the 23-year-old, but I have a feeling in the next number of years, people are going to, oh, that's Kelvin Gastelum. This guy is legit. A victory over Rick Story and a stoppage win over Jake Ellenberger. Still undefeated, still only 23. You know that has that wrestling background, and he can take a punch. He's driven. I am almost positive we're going to see big things from Kelvin Gastelum.
I agree with you 100% about Gastelum, but Ellenberger at his best was going in and assassinating guys. Really, if anything, being overly aroused and overly aggressive, but it worked for him. When it started to fail him, he hasn't quite found that perfect gear for him. But we'll see. We also got to talk about Tito.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about Tito. Of course.
Tito made $300,000 going in there and just putting on a fun 15 minutes, showed his wrestling. You know, was that the most exciting fight of the weekend? No, it wasn't. But did the crowd go crazy for Tito Ortiz today?
And that's what it comes down to. You know, you mentioned Tito Ortiz making $300,000. Deserved every single penny. You heard the crowd in there chanting Tito Ortiz's name. He came in shape. He came to do what people wanted to see of Tito Ortiz, and that's to lay a beating on Stephan Bonner. But you have to credit Bonner as well. He didn't go down without a fight, fought his hardest, but I have no idea how you could see that fight for anybody but Tito Ortiz. Split decision, my ass. Tito Ortiz dominated all 3 rounds.
Yeah, this is the hate for Tito Ortiz is just as strong as the love out there. But you know what the guy's doing makes a lot of sense. He's making money, he's pulling in people, he's leveraging his real value, which is as an attraction. And he came in shape. Bonner always fights hard, but you know the Bonner who failed some drug tests, that guy ain't failing no drug test. He didn't come in the kind of shape he has before, but he showed the kind of heart he always had, and those guys put on just the kind of fight you want from an attraction-style fight.
You would have to imagine that Bellator is looking at the future and a possible matchup between Tito Ortiz and Quinton Jackson. They could do that on pay-per-view, but in order for them to get to that point, they still have to build Tito. They can get a lot out of Tito Ortiz, and I think a matchup with Quinton Jackson and Stephan Bonner makes sense because you're going to get the fan-friendly stand-up battle that we're used to from both guys.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. That really would. I mean, it makes sense what they're doing. They can't compete with the UFC for global domination, so they're doing small shows, and the co-main event was pretty damn good, too.
The lightweight championship, Bellator's 155-pound title, Michael Chandler and Will Brooks. Will Brooks proving that he is, without question, a legit guy at 155 pounds. Michael Chandler proving to me that I will continue to support him for years to come. You know, he puts his hands down, takes punches, but Will Brooks, what a ridiculous athlete. It was a classic matchup of two of the best camps in mixed martial arts, Alliance out of San Diego and ATT out of Florida. These guys are just remarkable.
Amazing fight, two amazing athletes. When you get dinged on the temple like that and you literally think you're at the grocery store, you know, he literally had no idea. And I've been there before. I woke up when my knee hit the mat and the crowd was cheering as I felt shots hit me, and I was able to fight for another round until I lost. He didn't know where he was. He took a lot of abuse, but great fight, both great athletes, and they stood up to each other hard in that one.
A great night of fights for the UFC and Bellator and the World Series of Fighting. Straight ahead, by studying Frankie Edgar's evolution, Robin keys in on one of the specifics that makes Edgar so special in this week's breakdown when 5 rounds on FN continues.